Today we're on lesson 1.2, evaluate and simplify algebraic expressions, and everything we do here is something you've seen in Algebra 1. So we're going to start off with 5 cubed. I just said the 3 is cubed. It's the power or the exponent, and the 5 is the base. And the power, which is 3, tells me how many times 5 is a factor. So 5 is a factor 3 times. 5 times 5 times 5. There is a difference between -3 squared and -3 in parentheses squared. Let's look at the second one. The exponent goes with the value it's right next to. So this one is saying -3 times -3, so that yields a +9. Let's go back to the first one. We end up with -1 times 3 times 3, and this answer happens to be -9. So please be very careful with your exponents, your negatives, and watch out for those parentheses. All right, one last thing before we move on to evaluating is I wanted to remind you about your order of operations, PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Parentheses, exponents, or parentheses could be grouping symbols, multiply, divide, add, subtract. But I hope you remember that we could also do our grouping symbols, exponents, DMSA. We can switch because we're going to do the operation in order from left to right, whether you're given an expression which has no equal sign or an equation. Okay. If the directions ask you to evaluate, you will substitute a given value for the variable. So first, substitute -3 for the variable x. So -3, -3. Then we're going to evaluate the power. So we end up with -4. -3 times -3 is 9 minus 6, -3 plus 11. Now we will multiply. And finally, we will add. Oops, and I need to include my equal sign in front of all my math here. Okay, home stretch. If you are given 3x squared plus 5x plus -7, we can identify the different terms. So terms are separated by addition or subtraction signs. But the 3 and the 5, the value in front of the variable is called the coefficient. The number that does not have a variable is called the constant. And the variable or variable terms are the x's in this instance. So to recap, remember when it said evaluate, we substituted the value for the variable. But your directions may say simplify. So for simplifying, you're going to make sure that you combine your like terms and that you've completed all the possible operations, including dealing with any grouping symbols that you might be given. So we're going to wind up this lesson with one final example. So when we have the constant or a term in front of the parentheses, we're going to use our distributive property. So 3 times y is 3y. 3 times 2 is 6. This sign in front of the value goes with it, so it's negative 4 times y is negative 4y, and negative 4 times negative 7 is a positive 28. Then we're going to combine like terms, or you could group them together. If I combine my like terms, I might say 3y plus a negative 4y is negative y. We don't need the coefficient of 1 in front. And then 6 plus 28, we end up getting 34. And that's as simplified as we can get our answer. And again, I said you could combine like terms, you could group them. So at this step, you may have written 3y minus 4y plus 6 plus 28, rather than I kind of underlined my terms to group them together. That's it.